welcome to Funny Minds. I'm your host, Lynn B, and this is my co-host.
Edward Bass, how are
And
you?
we have Bob Dipasquale on today, and Bob is AKA Uncle Bob.
That's
And
me.
Uncle Bob has a podcast. You have a podcast, right?
Well, I'm working on it.
Oh, you're working on it. Okay.
Yep. I'm getting
But
there.
you put little pictures, cartoon things up, and you have a contest, humor Q, and so let's get into how you got into that, what started it, and do you do any stand? Let me ask you one thing: do you do any comedy, stand up, anything like that?
I do. I participate in Austin's Funniest Person in Austin contest every year. That's my big outing. I go to some open mics and stuff, but I'm also the MC a lot of the events here. We got a big condo that I live in, and I usually MC those and kick off the goodbyes and the hellos and all that. So
Okay.
yeah. You were asking me what got me into humor Q and all that. Well, I used to participate, and I've been kind of back at it, but I used to participate in the New Yorker caption contest. You guys know that caption contest? It's like the caption contest, right? And I always thought that my captions were better than the winners, as I'm sure a lot of people did. But I was like, there really should be a better way of figuring out who the best captioner is, who the funniest person is, rather than that just one guy sit back and sort through them and pick the one he likes, because he doesn't have the time for it. And now they've improved it a little bit. They ask people to pick finalists and stuff, but it's still not as good as Humor Q. But the way Humor Q works is when you sign up as a member, you'll see a cartoon from 3 days ago, and there'll be 5 captions from other members, and you pick the one you like the best. And then you'll swipe your finger, and you'll do it for 2 days ago, and you'll swipe your finger, and you'll do it for yesterday. And then once you've voted 3 times, a random sampling of 5 captions, you'll see today's cartoon, and you'll get to submit your own caption. So the way it works is everybody's caption gets seen the same amount of times and presented among a random group of voters. So it figures out how many times your caption was selected versus everybody else's, and it puts you on a scale between 1 and 200, like an IQ, but it's a humor Q, and it puts a number on how funny you are. So it's a lot more fair. And I actually even sent the idea to the New Yorker, and they said, and that's when they started, a couple of years later, they started doing okay, we'll let other people figure out the ones they want to have as finalists, blah, blah, blah. But they never did what I wanted to do, because they said it's too much trouble. And you thought of it already. So anyway, I need their kind of audience for my kind of thinking. That's what I need.
Exactly. And I love it because it gives people the opportunity to just spitball what comes to mind and be creative. I love that stuff. I think it's fantastic.
I went on, but blonde. I didn't understand. It went right over my head, and I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing here? Like, I didn't understand it. So
I really should have classes. Never mind the podcast. I should just start a course on how to play Humor Q.
Yes, you should.
No, the funny thing is I get it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I love it when you could come up with captions, and I love also too. Some people put out some video of, let's say, something like a soccer match, and then they add their audio over the soccer match, and they, you know what I'm saying?
They have things to say, yeah.
They turn it into a comedy routine,
yeah,
and it's really funny. But when you look at good humor, like good moments, what are they saying? What are they thinking?
or even
Like the
crazy,
sky's the limit, you know what I
even
mean?
crazy moments, you know, like there was someone that lived across the way from me and very rarely saw them, I think twice in a year. So I decided that he was a spy and he was a ninja. So, you know, he climbed up the building and that's how he got into the apartment. All of a sudden the light would go on and he was there, you know.
The cops, and she doesn't do anything with this.
And I don't smoke.
She does nothing with this at all. This is all natural.
I mean, like, I love making up stories about, like, I'll look at people on the street and I'll make up a story about them, you know?
I just
Well,
love
that's fun.
the
That's
aspect
fun.
of
I love improvising for sure. I remember when I was younger, I used to do those things like, you know, you've probably seen those interview tapes where you pose a question that you made up and you play an answer totally out of context from somebody famous, like like the Orange Guy or something. I used to love to do stuff like that. Yeah, that's a lot of fun just to do improv
You know what I thought was always funny is when you're walking in on the tail end of a bad joke.
yeah.
And all you hear is the punchline. You don't know what they were talking about, but it's so outrageous that you're like Jim Carrey when he was in Dumb and Dumber, and they walked in and he was like, "She said no, but that's a really nice ski mask," and they all start laughing. You know, it's the tail end of a horrible joke, and I always
Yeah.
thought that was super funny.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, I go to these open mics and there's some tail ends of jokes that I wouldn't even want to have heard the front end of. But it's open mics are tough. I don't know if you guys have ever been to those, but
I've done
there's
it.
people I mean there's some great comedy at open mics, and then there's some comedy there that I swear some of these people are just wanting somebody to talk to for 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that slash therapy. Like I just got to get this
It
off my
is.
chest. It may not be funny, but I got to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
My friends and I went to a comedy show maybe about 2 months ago, and the MC was older than dirt, but I mean, he was kind of okay. And then the next guy came on, and I felt so bad for him because there wasn't one thing he said that anybody laughed at, and I felt really, really bad. And then, of course, the headliner comes on, and it was side splitting.
Oh,
So
really?
after,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, that was at least you got your money's worth. But I
Yeah.
felt so sorry for the guy, the warm up guy, because it just nothing he said really. Like I kept thinking to myself, why are you in comedy?
Yeah.
It's just like, you
Yeah.
know,
I hear
You
that.
know, it's not easy.
Oh,
That's
my
an art
gosh.
form that is not easy.
yeah.
That reminds me of the second time I did comedy where I was the horrible comic. Uh, and and the first time I did comedy, you know, when it's the first time you got a real gig, they even paid me money up in Vermont, which is where I'm from. And I had all my friends come and family come. And of course, you know, when you got that kind of support, they're gonna laugh at jokes, even if they're just because
Oh
they
yeah.
love you.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
They love you, right? So like 2 weeks later, they call me back and I got to do an 8 o'clock show and a 10 o'clock show. So the 8 o'clock show, there was probably 100 audience members, and I got 20 of them laughing. But the 10 o'clock show, there was like 20 audience members, and it was like I was all alone up there. It was, oh my god, it was horrible. I almost never did comedy again. And then
And then you have to sleep.
the headliner got up there and he was able to get them going, and kudos to him because I mean I thought I had killed all of them. So it can be tough. It can be tough.
I'm sure it can. I mean, I've been to a lot of comedy shows. Me, I like to sit up front because I love to get picked on because I love going back and forth with
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
And my friends are like, no, 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 we don't. Oh, come on, just like lay your hair down. Let's like just go up there. You know, what's the big deal? What's the worst that can happen? You know,
yeah.
but I love it. I love going to comedy shows.
Did you watch any of my comedy?
No.
There's a there's a bit you gotta watch. It's
I
my
went on
wife.
that. I went on the humor queue,
Yeah,
and I was trying to understand it, and I'm like, I don't understand this. I'm gonna ask him when I
yeah.
see him on the
Did you go
show.
on the website or did you download the app?
I went on. I think I went on the website.
Yeah, that's it. Download the
Yeah.
app. Look for the app on your phone and you
Oh,
should.
okay.
So you can get
Okay.
the app from the App Store, Apple.
Yeah, the app's on the Google Store and the
Yeah.
Apple Store. So,
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
as soon as we get off here, I'm getting it.
there
I
you go.
actually because I'm all over this. I've done stand up. I've done what you've done. I've done amateur stuff. I've done the emceeing stuff, and because I'm a musician, but I had time in between projects, and I just get stir crazy, probably like you, where you got a lot going on in your head, and you just got to get it out. And so I just decided to do it, and that's when I realized how much goes really seriously goes into it.
Yeah.
For stand-up comedians, it's not as easy as some people make it look.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I my style is unique and unique around Austin. I'm a one-liner guy.
Mm-hmm.
I my heroes are Stephen Wright and Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, love
And
Stephen
I'm
Wright.
sorry, Stephen Wright and
Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg, yep.
Yeah.
okay. I don't know Mitch.
I know them both. Yep. I mean, I don't know them, but I know of them.
Right.
I love them both. They're phenomenal.
A classic Mitch Hedberg joke is, I like rice. Rice is great when you want to eat 1,000 of something.
I like Stephen Wright when he's like, I was walking down the street the other day and I seen a guy with a wooden leg and a real foot. He asked me what time it is. I said, not now. Just his brand of humor and his thought process is just so classic.
No.
And even when he was in the movie Half Baked, he was the guy on the couch, and it was just him. It was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned ninjas a little while ago. I have and I'll preface that. One of my jokes is, my jokes are like cigarette smoking cats. They're short and they may not come to you right away.
That's good.
And then I have a 4-word joke about ninjas. It's ninjas hate roll call.
Just hate roll.
Yeah.
You have to be, if you're a one-liner, you gotta go all the way back and then get up to like a Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney and
Rodney started his professional comedian career when he was like 55 when he started.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
he was a
know.
lot
He
older.
was older,
Yeah. Well,
but he could sell one-liner.
I started mine at 45. So yeah, not the.
Yeah, well, George Burns was a one-liner.
George Burns. Oh my God.
With what's his name? Marx. Okay.
Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx. Yeah, he was a one-liner.
Well, there's so many, but
Yeah.
they're so good. Like the guys who do it well.
Yeah.
Well, I competed in that funniest person in Austin contest, and those guys I mean, there's that contest is big. I mean, they're not offering huge money. The prize is like, I don't know, it's grown from like $3,000 to $5,000. But the thing is, you might get noticed, and you might get a real gig if you end up winning that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I noticed that a lot of the comics, they do the good old fashioned storytelling. They'll tell a joke that's got 20 seconds to set up or whatever, and then hit the punchline, and they rehearse, and they go to these open mics because they have time. I mean, I don't I'm not going to spend 5 days a week at an open mic. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not that dedicated to it. These guys they practice it over, and they refine it, and their storytelling. I'm like, I just need to be clever in a different way, and that's why I went with one-liners. I said, I got all the time in the world to think this stuff and write it down, but I don't have all that time to go out and sit at an open mic where there's 15 other people and try to figure out if it's funny or not.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
The person I like right now is Ian Bagg. Have you watched Ian Bagg?
I probably have, but I can't place the name and face together.
Ian Bagg is he's been doing well for quite some time now,
Yeah.
but he got onto one of those comedy,
Yeah,
showcases.
last comic standing or
Yeah,
something.
Last Comic Standing, and that really helped him stand out. But he was already doing studies from Canada
Yeah.
before that. But he is one of those guys who has the unique talent to where he could really work a room just
Yeah.
off the cuff.
Yeah.
Crowd participation. He's that quick,
Yeah,
and that like one-liners. That's a specialty that not everybody could do that.
Yeah. I'm about to put a challenge out. I talked to him on LinkedIn and asked him, if he would do the show, and he's like, "Yeah, that's doable. Let me see what my schedule is like." Right? So I didn't hear from him. So then he did something,
She's
and
stalking him.
I posted. I'm like, "Hey, Ian, it's Mom. When you coming on the show? You can't disappoint your mom." He's like, "I didn't forget about you." I'm like, "Well, let's go."
Cease and desist letter.
Oh, there we go. Okay, well, I'll keep an eye on my email when this is over.
This chick with purple hair, this old lady, she's driving me nuts.
Hey,
There's nothing I have to worry about, right?
Absolutely.
So before I ask you to give us some examples, aside from the humor cue, I thought you were doing a podcast, but you're starting a podcast. You haven't done one yet.
Developing.
Right.
So you're developing your podcast. Can we ask what the name is going to be?
Oh, I've been all over the place with what I want to do, and really, I think I might just jump around as a guest as opposed to hosting. I mean,
okay.
I don't know. I see on that website, on that group I met you guys through, where they got all these different podcast guests that could come up and talk to you about all this different stuff. And I'm like, well, geez, I either want to talk to all of them or none of them. So I don't know. I got to figure it out.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Bob. In all honesty, for us, it has been a learning experience. You have to learn a lot to get to start to hit a stride. You do bad things, you do wrong things get jumbled up, but then you hit that stride, and we're at the point now where I can be honest with you, it's super rewarding because we get such a diverse set of guests.
It's very eclectic.
It's not just Funny Minds isn't just about being funny.
It's
we find everybody who we feel is interesting in no matter what they do.
Right, and then just try and bring like a comedic type of theme to even so, like we had a hypnotist, we had her laughing like crazy, telling us crazy stories, and then we had a social worker who moved to Costa Rica, who works with these people through art and stuff like that.
Energy healers. I mean,
but we bring
people who raise dwarf bunnies that were psychotic.
But
we just have it.
Try and bring some humor into it, and an uplifting type of show, so that we don't want the platform of the angry person who's mad at the world for everything that goes on, and because there's so much to be happy about, or there for the grace of God go I. There's so many people who are so
uplifting.
They're very uplifting. They've got a great sense of humor when you get them going. No matter what they do in life, they do somewhere you can touch on a little bit of humor that you can get out of them.
Anybody who has a story to tell usually has a sense of humor about it, because somewhere along the lines you had to have a sense of humor to get through it.
That's true.
That's true. And that usually stands out. But when we have someone who could do comedy and does something along the lines of comedy,
it's even better. It's all the better.
Well, there's a whole ton of of comedy that evolves from tragedy. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
I mean,
That's true.
genuine tragedy. I mean,
Well, as comedians, I think we're all tortured, tortured souls that need rescuing via a crowd and laughter.
Well,
But I mean, if you just think about it, like when something really bad happens in your life, you've got to find a positive way to deal with it and to be happy and to start laughing and makes yourself a little bit happier and gets you through, something that's a bad time, and I found that in my life that, from bad comes good. So I'm always like the
well,
positive person.
See, he's got a
let me
giant
tell,
cup
let,
of
let,
he's got a giant cup of vodka and Sprite.
it's chance. It's chance.
The devil's coffee.
Yeah. Well, I
We're
can
not going
tell,
to ask you what you really have in that cup.
I can tell you my purposeful story. I mean, I believe in a life of fun and purpose, and I can tell you a bit of my own tragedy for sure. When I was 3, my dad passed away of a heart attack. This is 1963. Smoke, 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 smoke. He passed
Okay.
away of a heart attack. When I was 11, sorry, I was recently corrected. When I was 10, my mom passed away
Oh, wow.
from colon cancer.
Oh wow.
So I spent a lot of time. I lived with my aunt or aunt, however we're supposed to say, for a year and a half with her, with my 5 siblings and her 4 children. So there was 12 of us in a house for a little while. And
Wow.
and so we got pulled out of one school, got to another school, and then my sister got married. She was 21 and said, 3 youngest brothers come live with me. So we went to her with her and her new husband to Vermont. And so I was in like 6 different schools, maybe 7, just getting up through high school. And when you jump schools like that, you either are the quiet guy or the guy that knows the path to make friends quickly. And I think that's where I said, I'm going to be funny, and started being the funny kid and bit of
The class clown.
yeah, yeah. But then later in life, when I was almost 40, my best friend died and he left behind young kids. And I said, you know what? I know that those kids are going to want to know about their parents. And so I started a nonprofit called Memories for Surviving Kids. I got together with grief counselors and psychotherapists and created this
Oh,
website at mfsk.org. And it talks about how surviving parents can request letters from their friends and family.
What is that? What is that
yeah.
website again?
MFSK, like Memories for Surviving Kids.
MFSK.
K, like Memories for Surviving Kids.
Yep.
So it's
MFSK.
mfsk.org.
Okay.
And it talks about how go about requesting letters, how to go about writing letters, and getting them to the kids. And yeah, I was fiscally sponsored for a while, but recently some friends and I decided to form a board of directors, and we got our own 501c3 from the IRS now. And yeah, we're starting to pick up a little momentum on that front too.
Right.
I'm a guy with a lot of ideas, and like I said, it's got to mix the fun, got to mix the purpose, and yeah,
Right.
comedy's always been in my pocket for sure.
So what do you do since you don't have your podcast going? You're not really sure whether you're going to do one. And I hope you do. It is a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people, and then you go on other people's shows like you're doing right now. And you've got your humor cue. What else do you do? What's
Do
your
I make money?
profession? Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
software.
How do you feed yourself?
Well, first of all, I married well, but I'm a software guy. I work for the Housing Authority of the City of Austin, which is
Oh, okay.
very interesting because there's a ton of homeless people here and a ton of people we're helping out, but there's way more that need our help than we can provide. So But yeah, I worked for IBM for 35 years, where I learned all my software stuff, and
Oh, IBM.
process stuff.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful company. Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, I worked for their semiconductor unit. That was a battlefield. They got beat up. They actually had to pay another company money to take that unit off their hands, because
Oh, wow.
they didn't know how
Okay.
to do it. They
It's a
kept
swing
trying
and
to
a
say, we got to
miss.
do things better and cheaper. And I'm like, well, we can do better.
That's not
Cheaper
gonna
ain't
be
gonna
cheap.
happen.
Well, you had to
Cheaper's
say to
never.
them, good isn't always cheap and cheap isn't always good.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. You're competing with the people overseas. You gotta. I mean, it's silly. I mean, we would make it right, and then they take it and say, okay, thanks for making it right. We're gonna go over here and spend the money building it. Bye. Anyway, yeah.
So you're a
IBM was,
software nerd. That's what you are. A
yeah,
software nerd.
yeah. That's where my skills are. Kind of like
Okay,
Jeff
you
Foxworthy. Jeff Foxworthy was an IBM. He was an IBMer, believe it or
Was
not.
he really?
Yeah, yeah, he
wow.
was.
You know, it's funny is I do have a couple friends who worked for IBM, and one who just retired. You know, IBM is IBM. You know, when you were back, you got in it in the heyday and rode it out, and thankfully got through a career with it
I
before things
uh,
got too crazy.
I thought of Humor Q while I was working for them,
Oh,
and and when you work for IBM, you basically sign your soul away as an idea creator when you start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to tell them about Humor Q, and I remember having to write the letter to my manager. My manager ran up the letter, and IBM came back with, you know, this whole decision making process that you use to find the funniest person, that's not all that new and novel. We don't consider it an invention. You can do what you want with it. And as far as putting a number on how funny people are, we don't. IBM doesn't care about humor scores. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Now I can go run with it myself.
yeah, there
That's
you
an odd
go.
response.
Yeah, that is a very
Yeah, it's
odd
like,
response.
Very odd
we're not in the
response.
world to be funny. We're here to be IBM, dang it.
Yeah.
So okay, whatever.
Yeah, but I think
Uh,
I don't like the idea that you had to share your ideas with them. Like,
Oh, that's
or
yeah,
was
that
it that, if it was something really like they were interested in, they're going to take your idea
no, I think
yeah,
it's just more or less if he's
in contention
you
with
know,
something,
God
or
forbid he was online talking about how their programs work and blah blah blah, and he's divulging information, and they don't want their information out there. If he's doing something on his own, they really don't care.
yeah.
how
I mean,
can
As long as you're
if
not
you
interfering with IBM business.
right, if there's any way that they could leverage your idea and make money from it, they would consider it something you needed to disclose. If it's totally
Mm-hmm.
irrelevant to them, they don't care. But
Yeah,
if
if
I
you were doing
invented a,
okay?
something along the lines of the platform of where you were working, like as far as software and
Yeah,
stuff like
whatever
that, if
you
you
were
were
doing
talking
for
about
them.
that,
yeah,
they may
yeah,
want to
Yeah.
get involved or have their paws on.
yeah.
Or developing some kind of software that would be in contention with something that they were
Oh
doing,
yeah,
a
yeah,
software that they had.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, no, I had a great career there. They taught me a lot of good things. When I go to I've been in like 3 or 4 other jobs, and I walk into a new company and I see how they do things, and because of what I was taught at IBM, I just shake my head
Right.
and, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many ways you can do things better. But I'm just going to shut up until you get to know me.
Well, what do you think about AI and the new AI and that whole program? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's awesome. I mean, if you haven't figured it out yet, my mind scatters. It goes everywhere about everything. And that's probably why I'm not focusing in on things like podcasts and stuff like that, like I should be. But AI, when I heard about ChatGPT, I'm like, okay, I got to get that. I got to see what this can do. He
Hmm.
said, one of the first things I asked him was like, okay, tell me what would happen if if the Flintstones met the Jetsons, and it threw back like 3 paragraphs of how they would be impressed with how each lived in their time. I'm like, wow, this thing's pretty amazing. But and I heard it can pass the bar exam, and I even said, okay, for my charity, here's a little bit about my charity. So I told it a little bit about my charity. I said, now write a letter for me that goes out to funeral home directors that encourages them to introduce memory through surviving kids to their clients. And it came back with this very well written note. I'm like, this thing is powerful. It's really powerful, but you just don't know when it's lying. So that's one of the scariest things about it. Well, the scariest things about it is, okay, what are evil people going to do with it?
Well,
That's
that's just it. That when I first started reading about it, I was like, okay, who's going to be the first one to take this and do something really bad with it? That it's going to hurt somebody really drastically, or a company, or
Well,
a group, an organization, whatever.
well, I mean, when it comes to AI, I mean, your own government could use it for bad, and they probably do. Not saying against us, but in many different ways. I've watched some documentaries recently on it, and obviously, I mean, there's so much that goes on, and they just have to handle it right and do the right thing. You
Yeah, I
know.
mean, what it is. I mean, what the recipe for AI is everything that goes somebody types into a computer. That's what's in there, and they have to filter what comes out. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
that they have to put governors on what comes out. And man, I can just imagine what's in there. It's, I mean, I'm sure there's bomb recipes and how to rob a bank, and I
Oh
mean,
God, yeah.
Oh
it,
yeah, I
The
mean,
sky's the
it,
limit with the data
but
that's
but
probably
I
in
mean,
there.
you could well, you can go
and
online and Google and find out how to make a bomb and stuff like that. But I think it's a
here's
little bit more advanced. AI is a little bit more advanced in what they're going to tell you to do and how to do it, and give you like umpteen suggestions, or if you ask it for 10 suggestions, it's going to give you 10 suggestions, whatever. So I think it's a very powerful tool, and hopefully, I mean, even the man that was involved in developing this really has a lot of apprehension
yeah,
about the use of it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, like I said, it's all a lot of what's in the internet has been put in by people with privilege.
Mhm.
And that's another thing you have to be careful of. I mean, there's a lot of bias towards males. I mean, bias, you a lot of favoritism towards males, and all
Mhm.
kinds of
Right.
comments that have come over time by, if you look at the demographics of who's been able to use the internet, it's the powerful people that have been in there the longest, right? So
Right. Right.
that's something that they really got to be careful of about, you know, how do we put a governor on this thing that keeps it useful?
Right. It's like anything else. Anything that is just, you know, designed and built with so much potential and so much opportunity for good. There's always going to be the flip side, and that's just
Mm,
with anything
mhm.
else. And then you have to have measures
Yeah.
in place that can deal with that aspect of it. But the upside is the good parts are astounding.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what they have the ability to do.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole other thing of, okay, how many jobs is it going to replace? And realistically, it can replace millions of jobs.
Yeah.
It can, yes. And there's
Millions.
so many people being laid off right now by a lot of big corporations that, you put AI in the mix, and they're going to find a lot of reason to have a lot of people and go bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until they have problems and they need those people back to fix the problem.
My racing brain was like, you know what you got to do, Bob, is you got to find some real people with a lot of money, somebody like Bill Gates, to go up to them and say, listen, what we need to do is we need to create a company that is humane about the introduction of AI to the workplace, and say, okay, company B, hire us, and we will retrain your workforce before we replace them with AI. And because if that doesn't happen, it's just, it's going to be so ugly,
Really, it's kind of scary in a way. I mean,
be careful what you wish for. It's
I
like
mean,
anything else.
it's good, but it's really kind of scary. What can happen.
I even think of just even the basic like cell phones. Where we are in 2023, when I was in high school in the 80s, thank God I didn't have this. Because the stuff I would have had on video, it's still coming back from.
You would have never got a job.
The 80s were crazy. No, yeah. I mean, plus you're young and you're an absolute moron, so you make really horrible decisions with a very high tech phone that could do. Thank God. Just thank God they didn't have the 80s.
Right there with you. I was in the 70s. There was nobody keeping an eye on us.
Yeah, really.
Nobody keeping an eye on
the
us.
60s.
Yeah. No, oh my gosh. It's a good thing they didn't know where we were.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it was bad enough to explain to my wife, that my boys aren't that bad because my brother and I were way worse. Except my mother just didn't know because we weren't around. You went outside when you were a kid.
Everybody played outside. Nobody sat inside.
You left the house first thing in the morning. You didn't come home until dinner. And what you did between bing the bong was off the charts. And so my kids are in the house. They're on the computer. Like they're under your thumb.
Yes, so where they are, what they're doing. But it was
and when they're not home, they got their electric leash. You just call them, right?
Exactly. I got a monitor.
And you can track them.
I got a chip in their neck.
Yeah.
And I could zap them.
Yeah. We'd be out running bases on the rival school's baseball field with the Volkswagen Bug.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but those were simpler times. Simpler times, easier times.
For
you
sure.
Didn't have when grabbing your kid off the street.
Yeah, Halloween we could walk around the whole town.
I know.
We would go with pillowcases, and we would just fill pillowcases and bring.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
and they were allowed to walk to school by themselves. So now you wouldn't dare let your kid walk to school by themselves.
I wouldn't want one to drive it. She drove like a sick. She had a Camaro. She didn't have purple hair then, but she had a purple brain, and she drove like a lunatic. So even 3 blocks was dangerous.
Well, you didn't mind when I did the donuts in the snow, so I mean,
sick individual.
I resemble that remark.
Are you guys married?
No, this is my son.
Oh my God! Ouch.
my son is my co-host.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'd be a cougar.
You could have been a cougar hunter. How do I know? How do I know if you're a cougar hunter?
My wife is actually 12 years younger.
See, there you
I'm
go.
55. My wife is 43.
I was a naughty.
Actually, she just turned 44.
I was a naughty Catholic schoolgirl.
Oh my God! I'm going to do this.
Yes, and I had my son very early in life. So, and I
than
appreciate
19.
every moment of him.
I can't unhear this.
Yeah,
I can't.
I get it. But a while back, people had babies when they were young. I mean, if you were over 15, then you were kind of, and you lived in West Virginia, you were probably an old maid by then.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. No, I'm a Jersey girl. I was in
Even
West
worse.
Virginia.
It's West Virginia with an attitude.
Yeah, right. No, I wasn't the farmer's daughter.
Oh
Well,
man.
Bob, our time has come to an end. I'm going to have to say goodbye, and we've had a very good time talking to you. And
Absolutely.
I really do hope you think about a podcast because I think it might be good for you. But that's you. You have to make that decision yourself.
You have to have the time and the desire.
And you could also do it for your organization too. To help them out a lot too. And
yeah, I was thinking maybe a fun and purpose podcast. Talk some fun, talk some purpose, and something like that.
Absolutely. And you only, I mean, you don't have to do it every day. Our episodes air once a week. So we do.
But your equipment looks kind of expensive.
Excuse me.
Your equipment looks kind of expensive.
You can buy very simplistic.
Yeah.
You can buy very simplistic equipment, and you can go from one scale to the other. You don't have to have
same microphone that James Hetfield from Metallica uses. That's why we got him. They look cool.
Nice.
No,
All right.
You could do it on a very easy budget. It's not, you could price it out and it wouldn't be that bad.
Well, you got some good things going on. You got a lot to talk about. And I really was excited to talk to you and really glad you made the time for us.
I'm glad I did too. Let me just give you one homework assignment, and that's to go watch my comedy. You want to go to YouTube and search Uncle Bob FPIA, like funniest person in Austin, 2018. 2018. Uncle Bob FPIA 2018. Watch that and you'll see the most fun 6.5 minutes of my life.
Okay, there we go. That's where our audience can find you. So to my audience, thank you for watching this episode of Funny Minds. And you can go to funnyminds.com. And on there, we have a store where we sell a lot of crazy things. And you'll also see a big purple button. And that purple button is a donation button for 2 organizations that we're very involved with. And that's Women's Breast Cancer and St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So if anybody is, interested in those 2 organizations and would like to donate, please push that button and please help them out. They're wonderful and they do a lot of wonderful things. And we will be on Spotify because we're a video podcast. We're on Spotify and YouTube. And for the audio portion goes out to every major platform. So with that, I am going to tell my audience, and I'm going to tell you, Bob, be healthy, be safe, be wise, be happy, smile, and don't ever forget to laugh because you and I all know laughter is the best medicine. So we will say goodbye and we will see your humor. We will go to YouTube and watch it.
Yes.
we ask the audience to do the same thing. Thank you, Bob. We had a great time.
I did too.